G'day model builders. Every modeller ends up building a Spitfire at some point, and for me this one took a while, because I've avoided Airfix for decades. Not on purpose, just experience. My early builds with Airfix kits were rough. Heavy detail, raised panel lines, poor fit. I moved on from them pretty quickly. So when it came time to finally build a proper Battle of Britain Spitfire, I hesitated. But if you're only going to build one Spitfire, it has to be from the Battle of Britain. And if you're going to build a Battle of Britain Spitfire, the kit really should come from a British manufacturer. And that really only leaves one option. So the question was, has Airfix changed? Or was I about to regret this? This is the modern 1/72nd scale Spitfire Mk1a from Airfix. And straight away it isn't what I expected. The shape looks right, the detail is good, still feels a little soft on the sprue compared to some other modern kits. But once you start thinking about paint and weathering, you can see how it's all going to come together. And more importantly, this looks like a kit that a beginner could actually build. So with that in mind, I decided to keep this one mostly out of the box and see what it could really do. Now for this build, I'm mixing all of my own colours, including the interior green-grey. And I'll show you exactly how I do that in another video. But for now, once that base colour was down, it was straight into assembly. The cockpit itself is nicely detailed, especially for this scale. One detail you could add would be some armour plate behind the seat. You'd expect to see this on a Battle of Britain Spitfire. But I'm still working out of the box, so my major mod was to drill out a few of the lightning holes and sharpen things up a bit. I also added a set of my own seat belts, and with the Spitfire, there's a nice little detail where the shoulder straps disappear into the rear fuselage and just peek out behind the seat. It's subtle, but it adds a lot once everything is closed up. The sidewall detail is actually really well done. On the right hand side, I picked out the controls and added a few hand-painted placards, just to bring it to life. But the real highlight is the left hand side. Airfix has moulded the interior of the cockpit door with a double frame, and the gap lines up perfectly with the panel line on the outside of the fuselage. That turns what is usually a fiddly modification into something that's actually very beginner friendly. So I cut the hatch open, cleaned it up and set it aside for later. With everything assembled and the details painted, I brought it all together with a dark wash and a bit of dry brushing, and at this point it already looks the part. Normally this would be the last good look at the cockpit, but on this build, with the open canopy and hatch, we'll be coming back to it later. With the cockpit done, it's time to close up the fuselage. This is where things start to get interesting. On the surface, the fit looks fine, but during dry fitting, things didn't quite line up the way I expected. It looked like it should work, but it didn't quite want to, so instead of forcing it, I removed a couple of the locator pins. And that gave me just enough flexibility to get everything aligned properly. It's a small adjustment, but it makes a big difference. The wings go together well, but there's a known issue underneath along the hinge line, where there is a gap that's a bit excessive. I found the same thing here, and during dry fitting I realised I could reduce the gap slightly by removing a couple of locator pins and shifting the part rearward. I found out later this affected the wing to fuselage joint slightly, but it's one of those trade-offs. You fix one thing, you create another, but in this case it was worth it. Any remaining gaps were easy to deal with using a brush application of heavy acrylic primer. That's something I use a lot, especially on softer plastics like this, because it gives you control without risking damage from aggressive sanding. And that's another thing to note here. The plastic is a little softer than usual. So instead of starting with something like 320 grit, I stepped up to 400 and 600 grit just to keep things under control. From here the build comes together pretty smoothly. The wing to fuselage joint is good, with only minor cleanup needed, and before long, it's time to move on to paint. Now this is where the build takes a bit of a turn. For this model, I'm mixing all of the camouflage colours myself using artist acrylics, RAF Sky, Dark Earth and Dark Green. And rather than just eyeballing it, I'm using a precise system to get repeatable results. I'm not going into the full process here, but the short version is that I'm working from a colour standard and mixing by weight to get consistent, accurate colours. If you want to see exactly how that works, the video is on the channel. But what matters here is how it performs on the model. I started with the underside colour RAF Sky, and it went down beautifully through the airbrush. From there, I moved on to the dark earth, and this is where things start to get a bit more complicated. Spitfire camouflage has a very particular look, especially along the demarcation lines. In full scale, there's a slight feather to the edge, about an inch, but in 1/72nd scale, that feather becomes almost imperceptible. So you have to make a decision. In this case, I went with a hard edge for the underside demarcation and moved on with my life. For the upper camouflage, I created masks based on the kit paint scheme, scaled them, printed them, and cut them out. This is where I made my first mistake. The print scaling was slightly off, and this was made a little bit worse by the kit being slightly overscale. Neither of these things on their own would be a big deal. Combined, it meant the masks were noticeably undersized. At this point, I had a choice: stop, reprint and start again, or work with what I had. So I pushed on. I used a light coat of spray adhesive on the masks to give them enough tack to stay in place, but not so much that they damaged the paint underneath. And instead of pressing them down completely, I left the edges slightly raised to create a softer transition. The dark green went down well, but as soon as the mask came off, another issue showed up. I should have worn gloves. The paint on my hands stuck to the paint on the aircraft while I was handling it and left a few marks across the surface. Not ideal, but not the end of the world either. A bit of blue tack lifted most of it, and touch-ups took care of the rest. From there it was into gloss for decals, and this is where I made another classic mistake. I didn't wait long enough between coats. The result was a slightly uneven finish with visible brush strokes on the upper surfaces. But again, trust the process. I let it dry, applied another thin coat of varnish, and it all levelled out. I put the decals on in 2 stages. First, the main markings, the roundels, the tail flash, the tail numbers, and the side codes. The key here is placement. The codes are actually symmetrical, but they're not placed symmetrically on the aircraft, and getting them aligned correctly takes a bit of planning. I found it easiest to position the roundel first, then align the codes parallel to the underside demarcation line. It doesn't quite feel right, but it looks right once it's done. After that, I applied all of the stencils. The decals themselves behaved well, although I did have to work a bit to get them to settle into the panel lines. But a few applications of setting solution, and in one case a bit of persuasion with a needle, got them there in the end. Another clear coat, and with the decals sealed in, it was time for weathering. Now for this aircraft I wanted something subtle. These were operational machines, but they were also well maintained and operating from their home bases. I wasn't going for heavy wear. I just wanted a bit of a patina to break up the finish and to add some realism. I applied a dark grey wash to bring out all the panel lines and added a little bit extra around the control surfaces and gun ports. Some light exhaust staining and a few directional streaks, and that was pretty much it. At this point, the model is essentially finished. I simply completed the final assembly. and added the antenna. But I left one detail until the very end: the gunport patches. On the real aircraft, these were fabric patches applied over the gunports as a visual indication that they were loaded with ammunition, and also to stop things like bugs climbing into the barrel. And on a machine ready to scramble, they'd be clean and intact. So instead of weathering them with the rest of the aircraft, I wanted them to sit on top of everything else, fresh, bright, and intentional. Getting them on though, this is a bit of a challenge. They're small, and even though they're good decals, they don't want to conform to the leading edge. And lining them up so the gunport is right in the middle of the square is really difficult. So instead of fighting them, I tried something different. I positioned each decal flat on the upper surface of the wing, projecting out over the leading edge, lined up exactly where I wanted them. And then I applied a small amount of setting solution and let the surface tension do the work. As the decal softened, it pulled itself down over the leading edge and wrapped perfectly into place. No forcing, no tearing, no misalignment, just exactly what I was aiming for. And with that, the build was done. After all that hesitation, after all that doubt, this is a really good kit and a fun build. It's not perfect, the surface detail is heavy, and the plastic takes some getting used to, but it builds well, it looks right, and it delivers a result that I think most modelers would be really happy with. More importantly, it's approachable. If you're new to the hobby or coming back after a break, this is absolutely a kit you could start with, and for me, it completely changed how I look at modern Airfix kits. If you want to see how these colours were mixed, including the exact process and recipes, that video is on the channel. And I'll be adding more of those precise paint recipes as I go. I'll show you how it's done. Phew, how long did that take?